Hey guys, Mixed by Jocelyn here, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to get your kicks to slap through the mix. And I'm going to show you how to achieve this by using a technique called parallel compression. Let's get started. Okay guys, so for this mix I'm using a track called Flaws and Phases by a group called Bad Mind. I've already mixed the song and it's been released. It's on Spotify. If you're interested in listening to it, the link will be in the description. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using my headphones to mix the record in, just so we're not getting like background noise from the microphone and stuff like that. But in most circumstances, I would be using a combination of my headphones and my speakers. So just bear that in mind. For this particular mix, the mix is already done, but what I've done is I've lowered the fader and removed most of the plugins off of the kick drum, just so I can show you the process in what I would do to help get that extra kick and that slap from your kick drum. Most of the time I see people, engineers, if they're trying to really push their kick drums, and a lot of producers as well, will just keep pushing and pushing the kick drum fader higher and higher until it's as loud as it can be. And what ends up doing is you end up redlining, you get a load of distortion and clipping and things like that, and the kick drum ends up sounding nasty and kind of like flappy and distorted and just not what you want. You want a clean sounding, punchy kick drum. So what we want to do first is just look at leveling. Now, we concentrate on getting it at a decent level with a nice bit of headroom from the kick drum without it peaking, but just so we can hear it coming through the mix. If it's not cutting through or slapping, that's okay, don't worry, because then what we're going to do is we're going to move on to parallel compression, which is going to give us that extra bit of backup and punch and drive that we need to help the kick drum cut through without it distorting and peaking. So let's have a quick listen to the mix. I've got a little section of the track looped here where the kick drum's playing. We're going to have a listen and we're going to slowly bring up the fader until we hear it coming through and cutting through the mix just a little bit, and then we're going to back it up with that parallel compression. So it's got my fader here. We're going to just slowly start bringing it up.
I wasn't ready, Finn, so maybe I'm not thinking straight.
Not getting too much audio right now. Keep pushing.
I don't want to be in this state. I wasn't ready, Finn, so maybe I'm not thinking straight.
So right there is where I'm starting to hear the kick drum cut through the mix a little bit. I'm starting to hear definite hits from each kick, and it's round about there where I'm going to look to do the final kind of gain staging and just small tweaks.
So maybe I'm not thinking straight. 5 more rounds, I don't want to be.
Okay, that's sounding nice to me, but by no means is it punchy enough, and by no means is it clear enough. But we can hear the kick drum. It's definitely there, and it's got a good bit of headroom. We're not peaking at all. It's a healthy volume. Just to point out quickly, because you can probably see on the fader, I've got a bit of EQ here. I've just kept this on. I didn't want to go into it in this video because I didn't want the video to be too long. I can cover it in another video. If you're interested in seeing that, leave a comment below, give the video a like, and I will cover it. If I just show you quickly, it's just a quick top and tail EQ, just tidying up some of the low ends, removing some of the highs. And this little boost here is where the presence of the kick drum is, and it's to help me use a technique that I like to call a jigsaw technique with my bass, which I will cover in a late video. But that's just so you understand why that EQ is there. But without further ado, let's get on to the main source of the video, and that is the parallel compression. To create parallel compression, what we're essentially doing is creating a duplicate and a copy of our source audio. That can be anything, but in this case, it's our kick drum. We're creating a copy of it via a bus. We're creating a send to our auxiliary and adding a compressor to that, which we're going to make really tight, really compressed, and squash the living hell out of it. And we're going to use that and blend that in with our dry signal, our non-compressed kick, to create a super tight, punchy sound, but without destroying the original sound of the kick. So to achieve that, we're going to use our nearest available bus, which is bus 10, which will link us to our aux 10 here, which pops up if you're using Logic next to the fader very nicely. So this is now our aux, which is connected to our bus 10 that we're going to be working through. Now, the plugin that I'm going to use today is a plugin called the Pro C2 by FabFilter. It is a fantastic compressor, and it's very transparent, which is what I'm looking for parallel compression. You can use other compressors for this by all means, but I like to use a transparent sounding compressor because I'm not really trying to add any sort of like harmonic distortion or anything to my sound at this point. I just want a really tight, pumpy sounding compressed kick. So that's why I've gone with this compressor. So we go down here, Fab Filters, Pro C2 stereo, because the file has been sent in stereo, so bear that in mind. And what we're now going to do is we're going to basically create a super tight and compressed kick. So without even listening to it, I'm going to pull down the threshold right down, because I want it to react instantly, just straight away, and I want it to be at a very high level of compression. So I'm going to pull this right down as well, and I want it to be tight, and I want it to be punchy. So we're going to have the attack quite fast and the release pretty fast as well, and we're just going to harden the knee a little bit. Now I'm going to turn off auto gain, and I'm going to adjust this a bit later, because this is where we kind of go into blending our sources together. So we're going to come down here. I'm just going to go post fader, because I don't want it to be affected past this. When I start moving this fader, I don't want my blend of parallel compression to start being changed if I'm moving faders later on in the mix. So we're going to play it, and we're going to slowly bring this up. Now we should instantly start to hear some sort of like punch and clarity come through, and it should start reacting pretty fast.
So maybe I'm not thinking
straight away, as you can see.
5 more rounds. I don't want to be in this state. I wasn't ready, Flynn.
Now I'm already hearing like a really, really clean, punchy sound coming through, and it's tight, and it's definitely giving a little bit more body to the kick as well. So if I just A/B this for you.
So maybe I'm not thinking straight. 5 more rounds. I don't want.
It's lost a lot of presence. It's lost a lot of drive. We put it back on.
So maybe I'm not thinking straight.
It's driving for a lot more. And then just to kind of give it like a little bit of backup, we can push the wet gain as well, just giving the compressor a little bit more volume, the parallel compressed kick.
So maybe I'm not thinking straight. 5 more rounds.
Because we're losing, about 18 dB of volume here. So we've got a lot of space that we can boost up. But obviously bearing in mind, we're not trying to add too much volume to the source file as well.
So maybe I'm not thinking straight. 5 more rounds.
But right there, that sounded nice.
I wasn't ready, Flynn.
So just as a small recap to what we've done here, we've created a bus on our kick drum, which is connected to our auxiliary here, which we've added our compressor to. And then these are the settings that we've set. Now for every sound, it's going to be slightly different, but for this particular sound, I quite enjoy these settings. But it's always going to be a very low threshold. We want it to react instantly. It's going to be a high ratio, because we really want a lot of compression added to the kick drum, and we're going to want a fast attack and release, just so it's nice and tight and punchy, and creating that like bodied feel that we want backing up our kick drum. A little bit more gain on the back end, and then we just find the blend using the bus send here between the dry and the parallel compressed kick drum. So we're just going to have one more listen and A/B everything, just so you guys can hear exactly what we've achieved today.
So maybe I'm not thinking straight.
With,
5 more rounds.
without.
I don't want to be in this state. I wasn't ready, Flynn. So maybe I'm not thinking straight.
And we'll just take a quick look at our stereo out, just to make sure that we're not peaking. And as you can see, across the board, we've got lovely headroom all the way through. And a nice, clean, punchy kick drum for this pop record. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you give it a like, that would be amazing. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Safe.